Yeah. MD. JPB. It's only right, baby.
Yeah. Why you mad? I got a bad bro. Name hot in these streets, no Tabasco. But I'm so stuck, that's a fact, yo. And if you think I'm frontin', you can run it back, yo. Boy, run it back.
You know that I run it. Everything you wanna do, I already done it. And I got your little boo telling me she love me. I got this. Damn, it's gonna be a long night.
Hello guys, what is up? It is me, Prince over this, and I'm back here with another video. Today I'm going to be doing What If Deku Had Darkseid's Powers, Part 6. We're going to get right into it, but before that, for those of you who are new, welcome to the channel. Thank you for subscribing. Like I said, I am Prince over this. I know that I haven't been posting as much as I have before, talking to the OGs who've been here for a while, but I think I've just kind of established a thing where I will post 4 days, like after each video. Just after this video, another 4 days I'll post another video, because I think that's enough for me to get a video to 20 minutes or further. So yeah, that's how it's gonna work. What if Deku ate the Marimara no Mi will be coming next, and then what if Asta was a conduit, and then whatever comes after that is your choice. And yeah, what if Deku could edit quirks? That's also in the works. Just because I haven't posted it in a while doesn't mean I'm not, making it. There's no way I'm not making that. It's a pretty popular series now, and if I do, you guys will kill me. Also, it's almost at 20k, so it'd be stupid to do that. Anyway, I'm just gonna get right into the video. I'm gonna stop wasting y'all time. Last time I left off, Deku and Bakugo were paired up to fight All Might, much to their dismay. But before this, Deku had garnered a lot of attention for being the kid who beat the hero killer Stain, and his minion also got caught on camera. People started theories about the subject, and it became a bit of a hot topic. Hopefully the police helped Deku protect the secret, so things worked out. Now we're going to get into the story. Deku and Bakugo, after knowing that they were going to fight All Might, get really excited, but also weird about, working together. They both start off and enter the city. Deku then asks Bakugo, "So, how you want to do this?" Bakugo then says, "Honestly, I don't know." Deku then says, "What's wrong?" Bakugo then says, "Dude, you obviously want to go against All Might all alone. It's all over your face. You're smiling like crazy." Deku then says, "Yeah, of course I want to. It's All Might. Don't you want to see how you do against the #1 hero?" Bakugo then says, "Wow, this is really happening, isn't it? We're actually going to fight All Might." Just as he says this, they both start to hear a strange sound, and Deku realizes that this is the sound of something piercing the air. Deku then says, "He's here." All Might then lands in front of the two at an incredible speed and with enough power to send gusts of wind everywhere. He then steps out of the dust cloud he created, and before he can even talk, Deku punches him in the face and sends him flying. "Sorry, All Might, but this is our moment," says Deku. Bakugo, after seeing what Deku did, launched himself with explosions and threw a huge explosion at All Might. Bakugo then lands back down and Deku goes up to him. Bakugo then says, "You think we're in the clear?" Deku then says, "Nope." Deku was right, and All Might headed towards them, and as Bakugo tried to fight back with his explosions, All Might just easily went past them and attacking the two with a Carolina Smash. They dodge out of the way but still get blinded by some of the dust flying everywhere, and unfortunately for him, Bakugo was the one who All Might went after first. But due to years of sparring, or I guess you could say attacking, and surviving against someone as strong as Deku, he was able to just slap away All Might's punch and attacks and blast an explosion to his head. When the dust cleared, Deku stood behind Bakugo, who was on one knee. All Might was flown into a building and got out of the rubble with a bit of his hair burned off. All Might then says, "Good, you exceeded my expectations, but I'm starting to wonder if I even need the weights on." Bakugo then says, "Don't underestimate me. I'm gonna surpass you and Deku." Deku then says, "You probably should take off your weights, because as of now, I'm not gonna be holding back either." Those watching the fight are shocked at how good they work together despite their confusing relationship. Also, the fact that any of their attacks could affect All Might is surprising, especially Deku's punch, because that shit landed just perfectly in his face. And all the students are currently wondering what the extent of Deku's strength is, considering that it just looks like most of the time he's just strong enough to win against someone. Now we go back to the fight, and All Might is amazed because not only did Deku's punch land, he actually still feels pain in his jaw. And even though Bakugo's not as physically strong as Deku, he has resourcefulness and a lot of courage. All Might then says, "Looks like I really don't need the weights." He then takes off the bracelets and all the teachers get worried and start to panic, but Aizawa stops them. "Trust me, they can handle it." Meanwhile, Jiro is extremely worried because she trusts Deku, there's no doubt about that, but this is All Might he's fighting against. Then she thinks, well, there was that one time he said he could beat All Might no problem. She then has a quick flashback of Deku and has become a bit more confident, but not overly confident. And she's gonna trust him though, and she hopes that he does survive against All Might. Now, Deku and Bakugo are getting serious, and Deku starts to fly and blasts All Might with lasers. All Might was about to block, but then just as he was about to, the laser that was getting close to him just made him feel like the heat of the attack before it even hit him. Like, the laser was about to hit him, but he already knew he was going to die if that shit touched him. So he dodged out of the way to the side, only for him to get a cut on his cheek. But just as he regains his balance, he gets hit from behind due to Deku bending his laser. Bakugo then saw the opportunity to surprise All Might with a huge explosion to the side. But just as he does, All Might jumps past him and heads for Deku as they clash up, with a punch. This makes All Might spill a bit of blood as Deku takes the chance to roundhouse kick him to the ground. This creates a huge dust cloud, which Bakugo then jumps out of, saying, "You good?" He's obviously saying this to Deku, and Deku says, "Never better, but that doesn't mean we've won yet. Look, I have an idea." Deku asks Bakugo to lend an ear, and they devise a plan. By the time the dust is cleared, it reveals All Might in a huge crater, and everyone is just shocked. Midnight, in the watching room says, "Wow, that kid sent him flying. Is there any chance he might be stronger than All Might?" The teachers start discussing this, and all of a sudden they hear a loud boom, and everything starts to shake. They all attentively start to watch the fight, and Bakugo is rushing at All Might with just a full assault of explosions. But Deku is nowhere to be found. Bakugo then says, "That damn Deku better hurry up. All Might just won't stop advancing." Bakugo keeps attacking until All Might finally manages to grab him with ease and then swings him away. But Bakugo didn't let up, and using his explosions changed his direction. With a huge burst of power, he lands a nice kick into All Might's chest, sending him flying back quite a bit. Bakugo is now sweating non-stop, and just when he was about to attack again, in a moment, All Might appears right in front of him, about to punch him in the stomach. All he could feel was fear, when all of a sudden, Deku appeared in between of them and easily stops All Might's punch. All Might then says, "What? How did you do?" Deku then cuts him off. "It's simple. I'm stronger than you. Now that we both know that, it's time for me and Bakugo to pass this test." He then goes from holding All Might's punch to punching him in the chin lightly. But to All Might, it was anything but light, and in a moment, everything started to spin for him until he just passed out. He fell to the ground, and Deku teleported himself and Bakugo outside of the city, and they passed the test. Everyone back in the screening room had their jaws were dropped to the freaking ground. They were completely speechless. Deku had just beaten All Might with one punch. Not something you can even consider a punch because he went light, but you know what I mean. Sato then says, "That was awesome." The rest of the students then start clapping and cheering for the two, and Jiro feels a bit more relieved. However, the teachers were very serious right now. Deku just beat All Might, and since they didn't know how mature he was, they thought he was just gonna turn to the dark side because he had so much power. Now we go back to Deku, and he was about to high-five Bakugo, but Bakugo was pissed. Deku then says, "What's wrong? We won, right? That's good?" Bakugo then says, "You didn't have a freaking plan, did you?" Deku then says, "No, but that doesn't change the fact that we won." Bakugo then says, yeah, but I'm pretty sure you just wanted to prove that you could beat the number one hero without even trying. Deku then says awkwardly, that's... Then Bakugo cuts him off. Well, if you thought that was gonna make me give up on beating you, dream on. I'm just more fired up now. Now I know I have to surpass you. If I do, I automatically become number one. Deku then says, you really don't give up easily, do you? As expected of my rival. They smirk at each other as if they were going to start fighting right there and then when all of a sudden Bakugo falls to the ground. Deku then says, oh yeah, I forgot to mention. Sometimes teleporting with someone has a few consequences, for who I'm carrying that is. He then helps up Bakugo, who is still mad at him, and they go back to the screening room. When they enter, all their classmates are there to start cheering their names, and Jiro runs at Deku and hugs him tightly. Deku then says, I'm not going anywhere, you know. What, you want me to stop? Says Jiro while pouting. Deku then slightly blushes as everyone chuckles, considering Deku always looks calm and collected. Now we move on to everyone else doing their tests while Deku and Jiro watch while holding each other's hands. And after all the tests end, Deku was going to leave with Jiro to go on a date, but just as they are about to leave, all the pro heroes appear in front of Deku and Jiro, asking Deku to come see them right now. Sorry, can't do that, I'm busy with something else, says Deku. Midnight then says, but don't you think we need to talk about what happened today? Deku then says, oh, that I beat All Might? What about it? I'm pretty sure you told everyone not to, say anything. All the heroes and Jiro are dumbfounded at how carefree he is, but Deku wasn't exactly doing this on purpose. He always thought he could beat All Might, like I mentioned at the beginning of the series. To him it was just no big deal, and if anything, he was still holding back. So yeah. Deku then says, sorry, today me and Jiro are going on a date. Jiro then says, we are? She didn't know about this, by the way. Deku then says, what, you don't want to? Jiro then slightly blushes as she looks down and quietly says that she does, and Deku smiles and continues to talk. So unless you can tell her what you want to tell me, yeah, I'm not leaving. The teachers just agree with his conditions, and they head into the negotiating room with everyone seeing them head back, and they all know exactly why. It's pretty obvious, except for like the class 1B students and the other classes, Now once Deku and Jiro get to the place, they sit down and Deku notices that All Might isn't actually here. And Aizawa says, if you're wondering where All Might is after you knocked him out, he still hasn't woken up, so you want to know exactly how strong you are. Deku then says, well, I don't plan on giving all my secrets, but I'll show you a bit of a demonstration, but we need to go to Ground Gamma. This might get messy. After hearing this, all the heroes start to sweat, and then they go to a certain spot in Ground Gamma, just as Deku suggested. When they get there, Deku summons a minion, and they all get surprised. Vlad King then asks, who is that? They all then get on guard because, it looked like an enemy, but then Deku calms them down and reminds them of the incident of the new hero on the scene, when Stain was beaten, and tells them that in fact it was none other than his minion and his own creation that was there on that scene. Hearing this completely shocks them, as Nezu, who was also there, asks if that means that he can create life from nothing or something like that. Deku says no. By manipulating matter, which is another one of my abilities, I can create things like this, but that's not what's interesting about this guy. He's not even close to my strength, and I can guarantee that he would still beat All Might in a fight. Everyone at this point is just at a loss for words, but obviously they're having a hard time believing him, so Deku suggests that they have his minion and All Might spar later on. They agree, and Deku grabs Jiro and, they start to leave. But then he stopped and he told the teachers to pay attention. This is the last demonstration I have for you guys. Also in advance, sorry about this. The teachers are confused until all of a sudden they see his arm just, beef up a bit, and he punches towards a building in the testing area. Well, not a building, because there are no buildings in Ground Gamma. It's just like a bunch of, you know what I mean. He just punches somewhere. For a while, nothing happened until all of a sudden, they all just get blown into the air. Dust started to gather everywhere, like to the point where a tornado formed in Ground Gamma. The Pearl Heroes had to fight like their lives depended on it, because it did. And pretty soon they did survive with a few injuries. And when they landed, they were all pretty pissed at Deku, but he was nowhere to be found. And when they looked, they were shocked to see that Ground Gamma was no more. And there was just nothing remained. Because in one punch, Deku destroyed everything. And also, if you don't think this is a big feat, go to Google, search up Ground Gamma. That place is huge if you forgot how big it was. So yeah, they're gonna have to make a lot of repairs. Aizawa then says, that kid's strength can't be described in words. Now we cut to Deku as he was carrying Jiro and they were flying through the sky. I can't believe you get to see this all the time, says Jiro. As she says this, they pass through a cloud and she giggles, and Deku says, yeah, it never really gets old. Beautiful, isn't it? She then nods her head as she then says, by the way, are you sure you're not in trouble because of what you did? Deku then says, oh, I definitely am, but I usually don't get to exert all my strength, so I feel pretty good. Also, where do you want to go for a date? Jiro then says, I'm fine with anything. She then hugs Deku when he flies off into the sky. Long story short, sparks were flying, things were very romantic, especially when Deku had actually a lot of money saved up specifically for this occasion. And Deku took Jiro to see a movie, and then they did some karaoke, which they just completely were awesome at, because they're both musicians and, you know, singers, and they were both a perfect duo. Then they went to an izakaya, and, you know, they ate some good ass food. Soon, their day ended, and Deku flew Jiro back to her house. And in fact, he actually got to say hi to Jiro's mom as well. Then, just as Jiro was about to enter her home, Deku knew that he couldn't hesitate, and he stilled himself, and without hesitation, he pulled her back in for a kiss. He kissed her, yes. Embarrassingly though, Jiro's mom was just still there. She hadn't gone inside yet, so she saw all of that. And when Deku realized what he did in front of her, he then teleported back home really fast, and now he was in his room breathing heavily. Well, that was pathetic, wasn't it? I can be the #1 hero, but it took all the power in my body just to do that. He then goes downstairs and, he talks with his mom, Inko, and they cook together and they eat. And he hasn't told her about what happened yet. Now, next day, Deku goes to pick up Jiro and they walk to school together, which was kind of a challenge considering what happened last night, but they don't hate each other or anything. It's just a bit, awkward. Soon they arrive and enter their class pretty early, and when they do sit together, more students, keep arriving, and they can't take their eyes off Deku because they really want to ask him how he beat All Might so easily. Side note, if you missed what I said, the students were told not to reveal that Deku beat All Might, obviously. So yeah, in case you missed that and I went a little too fast or something. Anyway, soon Aizawa arrives, and since not everyone passed, yeah, some of them were freaking afraid because there was not only fighting teachers, there was also like an exam, like written exams before this. So yeah, they were kind of scared. Aizawa then says, now about your exams, I'm afraid most of you did not pass. And as such, you will all be going to the Forest Lodge. Everyone was shocked, but then Aizawa revealed that it was, nothing bad was going to happen anyway because it was a logical ruse the entire time, just like the first time he tricked them. And the students were relieved because Aizawa said that, but they still had to take some classes during the camp because they still failed, thus they must be punished. And in any case, the exams are now over, so, the next day was free, so there was no school, and the invisible girl, otherwise known as Toru Hagakure, that's her name, suggested that they all just go shopping as a class since they'll need some stuff to spend a week in a forest. And the next day comes and everyone goes to the mall. However, before today, the day that they're going to the shopping mall or whatever, Deku made a few more parademons with new functions. They now have the ability to follow who they're protecting by hiding in their shadows, by combining their ability to manipulate matter and their ability to morph. And because of the increase in villain attacks, he made more to protect his friends in Class 1A. This way he felt more comfortable with everyone splitting up. Also, soon the villains were about to be hit by a big surprise. Due to Deku's parademons, the plans to free Shigaraki and Kurogiri has failed over and over again. And in case you missed it and you haven't seen the entire series, Shigaraki and Kurogiri are actually trapped and they're being held hostage right now. Well, not hostage, they're just in prison because Deku already caught them. And now All For One is definitely trying to get them out. And yeah, they keep trying, but it's not working because the parademons just aren't letting it happen, bruh. And at this point, yeah, All For One is definitely running out of options. So he decides that on this fateful day, he was going to meet the kid who was messing with all of his plans. Now back to the mall. Deku and Jiro were walking around, picking some things up when a strange presence was felt by Deku. Jiro, go on without me. I have a few things to take care of alone. Jiro then says, well, what are you doing? I have to go pick out some underwear, says Deku. When she hears this, Jiro blushes as she says, geez, just say that next time. I'll meet you back up here in a few minutes, okay? Deku then agrees and Jiro leaves as Deku sits down on a bench with a man wearing a huge coat and a hat covering his face. So, I finally get to meet you. What are you doing here? All For One says, oh, cheeky. I can't believe you noticed me. How did you know? Intuition? Doesn't really matter. You must be here because of the little gift I sent you. All For One then remembers a box at his hideout full of heads from the people he sent out, after Deku's mom, and he says, ah, that. Yeah, I was a little surprised, I guess you could say. I didn't expect that from someone striving to become a hero. Deku then says, I don't plan on being like other heroes. Those who cause trouble need to be taken care of. Don't you agree? Deku then death clears him, and All For One, clears his throat and says, so, you say that medicine fellows need to be taken care of. Then what's stopping me from taking care of you right now? He puts his arm around Deku, and Deku sees his arm spark a red lightning, and it's weird. Then, using his telekinesis, Deku forces his hand to just back off and just flings it away, saying, sorry, I'm taken. He then stands up and says, and whether or not you believe it or not, I'm way out of your league. But feel free to keep trying. It's fun to watch you think you can actually beat me. All For One then starts to get nervous because he thought he would be in control of the situation, scaring him, but it's the opposite. So using one of his quirks, he erases his presence completely and disappears. And just like he did in the sports festival, and no one noticed he was ever even there. Deku then sighs. Things are really about to get hectic, aren't they? He then sees Jiro picking out some clothes and smiles. But until then, I'm gonna have some fun, says Deku. He then goes back with Jiro and they spend the rest of the day shopping. Now, we're gonna skip to the day after. It is officially summer break, and all the students gather to go to the training camp. The Class 1B bus follows behind the bus carrying Class 1A, and they were all fired up, especially since Deku, who beat All Might, would now be training with them. Deku answers some of their questions, such as how did it feel, to fight All Might, how strong really are you, and are you hiding any more quirks? There were so many questions being asked, and the bus was just full of noise, so Aizawa told them to calm down, and they did. The bus then finally, just was shut off of all noise due to Aizawa's presence, and Deku saw the opportunity to sleep a bit before they can ask any more questions. Now, 1 hour later, he wakes up and sees that Jiro gave him a lap pillow, and, she's caressing his hair. Jiro then says, so, did you have a good nap? Deku then says, oh, definitely. All the boys on the bus then start to look at Deku with envy, and he can just feel the stares piercing him. Then all of a sudden the bus stops and Aizawa tells them to get off, and when they do, they start to stretch, thinking that they were taking a little break, stretching break, but Class 1B isn't stopping with them, and so they start to get suspicious. All of a sudden, then they start to hear a familiar voice or voices, and out pop the Wow Wow Pussycats, who introduce themselves. they all start to just freak out, and some of them are like they're fans, but then they wonder why the Wild Wild Pussycats are here to begin with. But it's not the whole group. It's just Mandalay and Pixie Bob. Deku then notices a little kid and waves at him, but the kid gives him a spiteful look, and Deku says, "Well, that was weird. Who's the kid?" Mandalay then responds, "Oh, you'll know soon, but right now you just need some instructions. Now, down at the base of that mountain is where you'll be staying." She points to where the camp is, and Zero says, "Then why are we here?" Then something clicks in all of their minds, and they all start to realize what was going to happen. Deku then sees Koda run from where the others are and, away from them and where they're all standing, and Pixie Bob slams her hands down on the ground. By this point, everyone starts running back except Bakugo, Todoroki, Deku, and Jiro. Todoroki then says, "So Midoriya, you'll be staying with the rest of us or what?" Deku says, "Nah, I'll just fly there." Bakugo then says, "Aren't you taking the easy way out a little bit too fast?" Deku says, "Well, that doesn't really matter. Besides, I'm sure you guys will do fine without me." He then starts to float as the ground completely cracks and crumbles down, causing everyone to start falling in the forest. Deku sees them falling down and waves at them with a smirk as Bakugo curses him out while falling. Then Deku asks Jiro, if she's secure, and she nods, and then he blasts off to the campsite, leaving the Wild Wild Pussycats amazed. Pixie Bob then says, "He can fly? Are you just gonna let him do that, Aizawa?" "I can't cancel his quirk. It doesn't really matter what I do. I guess you could say he's special," responds Aizawa. Mandalay then says, "What do you mean special? He's just flying." Aizawa then says, "Don't you remember the kid from the sports festival that got first place? Yeah, that's him." After hearing this, they both start to gasp in astonishment because, as most people now know, Deku has multiple quirks. And now, you know what I mean. Instead of Deku really fanboying over them, now they're fangirling over him. Now we cut back to Deku, who has just arrived at the campsite, because honestly it's not that far if you fly, or if you can freaking fly. And he could have just teleported there, but he figured that Jiro would enjoy the view, and she did. And when they arrive, then they land and they wait for the teachers to drive around and arrive as well. Aizawa, who then arrived with the Wild Wild Pussycats, then asked, "Are you sure that was a wise choice? I'm sure they would have needed your help. They could have gotten here faster with your help." Deku then says, "They'll be fine. Besides, I'm always watching." Pixie Bob then asks what he means by that, and Aizawa then whispers, "I don't know, but I think we should just take his word for it." After hearing this, Pixie Bob says, "Wow, you have multiple quirks. And from your teacher's tones, it seems that you're super reliable. I wonder where you're gonna turn out in a few years." Hearing this, Jiro gets in front of Deku and tells her to back off because, we all know what Pixie Bob is getting at. She's desperate, alright? That woman needs help. Who hits on a bunch of fucking teenagers? That's bizarre. She needs therapy. Anyway, I'm getting off topic, but you get what I mean. She's creepy as hell. That's weird. Just stop. That's not a quirky thing. That's not funny. It's just bizarre. Hearing this, Jiro gets in front of her, telling her to back off because that's my man, and the two stare each other down. Seeing this fight, Deku just feels a bit awkward, and then he cuts in by asking who that kid is, and he points at Koda. Mandalay then says that it's his nephew, and hearing this, he approaches Koda and kneels down in front of him. "Hey, what's up, little guy?" says Deku. Just as he says this, Koda for no reason punches him in the face, and Mandalay is shocked, but just as she was about to apologize, she notices that Koda is actually in pain, and all of a sudden he starts squirming a lot, in pain, it hurt. Deku then stands up scratching his head and looks back at Mandalay saying, "Sorry, one of my quirks is always activated, so I pretty much never get hurt. Can't say the same for the people who attack me though." Koda then, pissed off because he's a child, goes to punch him in the balls, but Deku then just dodges to the side and watches him fall down. By this point, Mandalay runs up and helps Koda up. Then she makes him bow his head and tells Deku that she, as well as Koda, are both very sorry. Deku then says that it's nothing since he didn't get hurt to begin with, and that he actually apologizes himself because, you know, Kodo got hurt, even though he didn't. You get what I'm saying. All of a sudden, Kodo then smacks Mandalay's hand away and starts walking off. Then he looks back while crying. I'm not here to fuck around with some hero wannabes. Why don't you just leave already? Silence then falls as Kodo leaves, and I'm gonna end it off there. You made it to the end of the video, and if you didn't, well, it doesn't matter because at least you watched it at all. I hope you guys liked this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with anybody else who might like what is. If you don't like the what if, feel free to just tell me in the comments why, or leave a dislike and just leave. And I'm gonna go to sleep now. And don't worry, I'm not burning myself out anymore because I've just gotten kind of control over it for a while now. For now anyway, until my next episode. But if you guys noticed that my voice was a little off, it's because I've been having some like problems. My sinuses are kind of going through a thing. It might be an infection. It's probably not. I'm overreacting, but it did hurt a lot and it calmed down, so I made the video today. But my voice was definitely a bit messy. Maybe it's just puberty. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video, which will be, like I said, in 4 days. So wait for me. Alright, later.